Welcome back, my friends, to TFT Hyperroll with Artark. This is one of those games. It's a fun one. It's a fun one. I think you'll enjoy it. That's why it's here. Don't force it. Well, actually, you know what? If you get the augment, force it. There's so much of that this season. Anyway, graphic. You know what to do. It helps the algorithm, it helps the channel grow, and everyone wants that. But let's pick our portal here, and then we can get this party started. We're in the summit, and I got to choose it. Now, what is the summit? Even when I get to choose it, I like to check. You gain champion duplicators along the way, and that is going to be key to what we're doing. So let's get to the first augment, Double Trouble. Now here's the thing. There happens to be a trait this season that works perfectly with Double Trouble. And I mean abso-smurfly perfectly. And what trait is that? Well, it's Shadow Isles. And the reason is because there are only really 4 slots for Shadow Isles unless you happen to get a Shadow Isle augment. So you're going to be able to double them up really easily. And remember, we're getting lots of champion duplicators, so we should be able to 3-star things very easily. We grab the blue buff for Viego, since that is one of his preferred items, and we already have the ability to take him up to 3 stars if we want to with the champion duplicator, which will then give us an additional 2-star Viego. So yeah, we're not out of 3 yet, and we already have a 3-star and a 2-star Viego. And the reason I like Shadow Isles also so much for this is that you're triggering at 2. So you only need 2 Shadow Isles to trigger the buff that's going to hit each of them individually, meaning they're getting a shield, they're getting a boost, they're doing more damage, and overall, it's going to be very easy to have 4 of them out. As we enter stage 4, we're able to get a second 2-star Moakai, so we have 2 doubles, and that is Double Trouble for the opposing team. And remember, we're doing this also because we're in the summit and we get lots of champion duplicators. So we know we're going to have a pretty easy time 3-starring these 1-cost champs. It's time for an item choice, and we definitely want to start tanking up our Moakai, so might as well add a Warmogs onto him with the 2 Giants belts. And we'll hyperspeed through some of these fights because it's a lot of rinse and repeat. We have 4 champions, we're both doubled, so they're getting boost, which makes it really easy for them to win these early matches pretty much against anything they're up against. It's time for our second set of augments, and Gary has got my back. We can pick up Rogue Heart. That's going to be important just for Viego. Even if we don't want to include Zed in the long term, this will give us 2 rogues just having Viego in. But it will also give us the ability to go up to 4 rogues very, very easily. And Rogue will allow both of our Viegos to jump into the backline when necessary, which is going to be pretty nasty to have 2 buffed champions going into the backline, especially when one of them is a gold 3-star one. And again, champion duplicators is making this so much easier. So it was easy to choose this in the summit because I knew we were going to get duplicators, thus we now have 3-star gold Moakai, 3-star gold Viego, and then their 2-star counterparts. Item-wise, since I have sparring gloves, I want to grab Tira the Goddess so I can make a Hand of Justice. That will work on either Zed or Katarina, depending on who I decide to put in as double. Moakai ends up getting the Gargoyle Stoneplate, and for now, since we're running Double Trouble, might as well put 2 Zeds in the game because we're at 6, better to have 3 pairs than not. And we'll hyperspeed this fight as well, as it gets a little silly at the end, but in general, if you're running Double Trouble, try to get as many pairs as possible. You need them for the additional buff, and it will just help the team overall, and we can watch Ash try to knock down a tree. It just doesn't go well. Once Kat was up at 2 stars, I felt it was better to bring her in for the additional damage and also to tick that additional rogue trait. That'll give us just a little more power and ability to get through the backline, which certainly helped out here as we were able to take out the real damage dealers and then just clean up the front line. It is time for our final augment, and while I hate getting this as a third augment, return on investment will work here because we're still at 20 health, so we should be a long way from dying. I decided to bring in the second Katarina, so we're getting the double Katarina attacks, and for the moment keeping Callista on the sidelines until we can maybe get another Callista. We used a champion duplicator, so we now have two 2-star cats, gave one of them a hand of justice, and again, you can see the difference it makes. We have this on hyperdrive because once again, someone's going to try to take down a tree, and Sona music just isn't going to soothe this savage beast. In essence, I now have all the elements I want. I've picked up a Callista, I found a Gwen, so I have the other 2 Shadow Isles that I can bring in at 8 and 9, and I also have a Tactician's Crown that's going to be coming to me, presuming I can get enough rerolls in. That will allow me to double one of them up, presuming I can find enough of them. It's time for some item choices and some tough choices, because we have found a Senna, which kind of throws the plan out the window a little bit because I'm not going to miss a chance to bring Senna into the match. She's just too strong and provides too much shielding for us not to go ahead and use her. Item-wise, very torn. Jeweled Gauntlet for Katarina or something like a Giant Slayer for Senna. I want to itemize Senna as much as possible. We have a very good front line. There's no other rogue teams out there, so she should just be able to hang out in the back, doing damage and keeping the team shielded. Remember, they're also getting shields as part of Shadow Isle, so her shielding is on top of that, which is going to allow them to hang in much longer. We then get the opportunity to 3-star the Katarina, which is going to give us a 2-star Katarina immediately, so there's another double that is going to be very, very effective. And you will see quickly how effective a 3-star Katarina is just on her own. She's pretty deadly, but now with a double trouble boost and there being 2 of her, along with Senna shielding her, yeah, she's not going to be easy to take down, and you can see both cats lead the damage charts. And they have brought us into the top 4, and we get to pick up a Gwen, which will now give us the 4 Shadow Isles. We have our final item choices, and first I'm thinking the static shiv for Callista, and that is because most of our team does magic damage, Viego, Katarina, etc. Then we can go ahead, put a Last Whisper on Zed, as he is our only real AD damage. Any chance to pick up a Rage Blade for Callista, I'm going to take it because her attacking faster, it's always useful. Now at the 4 Shadow Isle buff, we are getting a really nice boost in terms of shielding and then additional mana that our Shadow Isles are getting. So you can see the damage just increasing. Also Senna picking up speed with that Rage Blade is just firing her ult more and more often, which is shielding them. And you will see that it is Katarina and Viego who are leading the damage charts now. We were able to 2-star the Senna, and then we're met with an interesting possibility. We can bring in a second Senna with a second Rage Blade and the static shiv on her. Double trouble, double Sennas, double shields, double whoa. And with these shields crisscrossing the boards, it is going to be very, very hard for any team to have any real impact. Look at the size of the shields that you're seeing on our Shadow Isles champions. Our 3-star Moakai hasn't lost any actual health yet. They have not gotten fully through his shield. And we finished that round. And we are left in a 1v1 against the only team that's beat us this match. It is a Void team. We're going to move back. The reason we move back is because when that void egg pops, it's going to knock everyone up, and we don't want to get knocked up. So if you're facing void and you see they have the egg up front, just pull back. They are counting on that knockup to disrupt your team. Don't let it happen. But it might not have mattered in this case, because with the double Sennas and everything that's going on, even their really, really strong Rek'Sai is going to have a hard time breaking through. Kaisa does a lot of damage, but ultimately, again, Moakai barely loses health, and it's GG for everyone. So if you get double trouble, think Shadow Isles. If you're in the summit and get double trouble, force Shadow Isles. Hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, have an absolutely, absolutely awesome day.